Did you know that you can use file system as a Celery message broker? This feature is not documented. However, it is extremely useful in development environment because it simplifies setup a lot. This lesson is about file system as message broker. The typical setup for distributed software is this. You have a Django application which uses Celery API. In Django settings file, you configure broker URL. Broker is a special software which delegates heavy tasks to so-called workers. Workers are other processes which do actual heavy processing. Workers can be on the same machine or live in completely separate network. There are many broker software available, like RabbitMQ, Redis, Amazon SQS, and so on. Official Celery documentation highly recommends RabbitMQ. For production, RabbitMQ is a great software. However, official documentation does not even mention file system as a broker. File system as a broker is extremely useful in testing and development environments. The way this works is following. A folder on your machine is regarded as a queue. So Django application writes to the queue, which basically means it writes a file to that directory, and worker application reads from the queue by reading files from the same directory. Let me show it to you in action. So I have here two applications. On the left side is a Django application, and you can see Django settings file where I configure Celery broker as a file system. And I configured here two parameters, data folder out and data folder in. Both of them need to point to the same folder on your file system. On the right side I have the worker configuration. On the worker side, the only mandatory option is broker URL, which is file system. And as a broker transport options, we need to specify data folder in, this one, which will point to exactly the same folder that we mentioned on the left side. An optional parameter is store processed, which in my case I set it true, which means that after a message is processed by the worker, I ask the application don't delete it, but instead store it in this folder. This is useful for debugging purposes. The Django application has one single view. In this index view I fill in document name here, and then the application code takes this document name and supplies it to a function called OCR document. OCR document is a Celery task defined in worker module. OCR document method is called asynchronously with applyAsync. ApplyAsync is another Celery API function. The worker side is very simple. I have defined only one single task called OCR document, which basically prints a hello message, waits for 15 seconds and then quits. So let me now start the worker process. You can see the main Django application server is running here. It is a development server. And the worker I will start in the terminal below. And you can see here in configuration it says that transport is file system. Let me start a job, and you can see that exactly after 15 seconds the work is finished, and the worker notifier says that task OCR document is done, succeeded in 15 seconds. And also notice the message that appears here. You can see here content type of the message was application JSON. Then another useful information is like keyword arguments, document name, invoice, PDF, then the origin of the machine, and so on. This information is extremely useful when you are debugging some weird issue happening on the Celery side. Before I finish this lesson, I want to show you something very cool. Celery at its heart uses a Python library called kombu. Kombu, what it does, it provides a common API for all operations that you can do with messages. In this lesson, both Django application and worker used a folder on a file system as a place to read and write messages. So in our case, file system was used as transport. But there are many more, way more fancy transports, which are listed in kombu documentation in this table here. Unfortunately, in this table, not all transports are mentioned. So I included here on the left side kombu package to have a closer look at its sources. Kombu has a module transport, and if you open it, you will see here listed all available transports. One of them, for example, is etcd or console, and the most useful for us, which I demonstrated in this lesson, was file system. Let's have a look at it. In file system transport, there's a class channel with method like put and get, which makes use of data folder out and data folder in attributes. And if I scroll towards the end of this file, I'll see the definition of those data folder in and data folder out transport options which we used in this video. And this is how I actually discovered the fancy stored processed. I highly recommend you to have a look at the source of kombu, because it's a very well written and clean code from where you can learn some interesting tricks. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks for watching.